Abu Ali al-Riyahi. He said, he was in Basra, he was one of the major tabi'een that lived in Basra. He said that when we heard narrations, we would not stop until we went to Medina and we heard directly from the Sahaba. When they heard narrations in Basra, they had to go to Medina to hear it directly. Of course, and it's things are not how it used to be. Another really interesting athar, Khalid bin Nizar al-Aili. Have you guys heard of Eilat? Today it's around the southern tip of Israel, modern day Israel. Khalid bin Nizar died in the year 222, and he speaks of this narration when he was in. He says that in the year 150, he went to Mecca to meet Ibn Jurayj. Any you guys know who Ibn Jurayj was? Ibn Jurayj was technically the Mufti of Mecca at the time. So he wanted to meet Ibn Jurayj. This was the year 150. He gets to Mecca, Ibn Jurayj passes away. Okay? Now, Khalid bin Nizar says that he had with him the books of Ibn Jurayj while going to Ibn Jurayj. And since Ibn Jurayj passed away, what he had to do was he had to read those books upon the students of Ibn Jurayj. There's something really significant about this narration. You guys, any idea why or how did Khalid bin Nizar come to have the books of Ibn Jurayj in the first place? That's a good answer. That's very possible. What they used to do is they used to go to copyists, and they would say, "Can you copy this book for me?" And the copyist would spend a while writing it down, and then he would sell it to him. Another possibility is he heard the books of Ibn Jurayj from one of the mashayikh in Eilat, and he then wrote everything down. But the key thing is, he has the narrations of Ibn Jurayj, but he still wants to make the trip to Makkah to hear it directly from Ibn Jurayj. That's like extreme, that's extreme tathabbut, making sure and double checking. That's extreme. But that's how it was. And that's how they used to take knowledge. So one of my favorite examples similar to this is a famous athar about Shu'bah bin Hajjaj. If you guys have heard of Shu'bah bin Hajjaj. Okay, Shu'bah bin Hajjaj was Amir al-Mu'minin fil Hadith. Okay, he was the leader of the believers in Hadith of his time. He was from Atba' Tabi'in. And he was himself, he was a school of Hadith, to be honest. And from him came major students like Yahya bin Sa'id al-Qattan and Abd al-Rahman bin Mahdi. And from those two came Yahya bin Ma'in and Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal and Ali bin Madini. And of course from Ali bin Madini, his favorite student was al-Bukhari. So all these guys, technically in some way took their ilm from Shu'bah bin Hajjaj. And Shu'bah bin Hajjaj was really famous for this, for being extremely critical when it came to hadiths. So he narrates that he heard this narration from Abu Ishaq al-Sabi'i. And Abu Ishaq narrated that he heard from Abdullah bin Ata, from Uqba bin Amr, that he and some of the Sahaba used to take turns and take shifts when it came to taking care of the camels. So he was somewhat late to come to the majlis of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He comes in and he hears from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that whoever makes wudu, a good wudu, prays 2 rak'ahs, and asks for forgiveness, then he would be forgiven. And he is astounded and astonished by this hadith, and he reacts in a positive way. And then someone pulls him from behind and he says, "You missed something that was a lot better than this before you came." So he turns around and he finds Umar ibn Khattab. So he says, what did I miss? So Umar says, "You missed when he said that whoever testifies that there is no God but Allah and that the Prophet is his messenger, then he shall enter whichever of the doors of heaven he pleases." So Shu'bah bin Hajjaj said to Abu Ishaq, "Where did you hear this?" Abu Ishaq said, "I heard this from Abdullah bin Ata." He said, "Who is Abdullah bin Ata?" So he's his dark sheikh, teaches us, the hadith. So he goes looking for Abdullah bin Ata, And according to one narration, and Shu'bah ibn Hajjaj, just for context purposes, he's in Basra. Abdullah ibn Ata at the time is said to be in Mecca at the time. So he travels to Mecca to hear this narration. He gets to Mecca and he asks Abdullah ibn Ata, I heard this narration. It's supposed to be, you narrating it from Aqba bin Amr. Aqba bin Amr, by the way, a famous Sahabi. He was the Emir of Egypt for 3 years in the time of Muawiyah. So, major Sahabi. So Abdullah bin Ata says, no, I didn't hear this from Aqba bin Amr. I heard this from Muhammad bin Mankadar, and he's in Medina. So that's according to one report. According to another report, he says, I heard this from Sa'd bin Ibrahim bin Abdurrahman bin Auf, who's also in Medina. So Shu'bah, okay, heads off to Medina. Okay, it's not too far now, at least it's a bit closer. He gets to Medina and he meets one of the two. He's either Sa'd bin Ibrahim bin Abdurrahman bin Auf or Muhammad bin Mankadar. Shukran. So he says, he asks him, did you hear this hadith from Aqba bin Amr? He says, no, I didn't hear this from him. I heard this from Ziyad bin Mikhraq, who's in Kufa. So, طبعا Kufa is in Iraq, so he has to go back to Iraq. So he gets back to Iraq, he goes to Ziyad bin Mikhraq, and he says, did you narrate this narration from Aqba bin Amr? And he says, no, I didn't narrate this. I heard that someone said that Shahr bin Hawshab narrated this from Aqba bin Amr. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And it was with that Shu'bah gave up on this hadith. Now there's something really interesting about this narration. It's that parts of it, the first part about the hadith about wudu and praying and istighfar, that narration can be found from the narration of Uthman bin Affan in Sahih Muslim. And the second part of the narration can be from about testifying that La ilaha illallah and choosing which doors of heaven to enter from. That narration is from the narration of Ubadah bin Samit. Now, so to Shu'bah bin Hajjaj, it's not a matter of is this hadith authentic or weak. It's not that. It's did Uqba bin Amr narrate this hadith or not? But these guys, they were so obsessed with ilm, with knowledge, that they took themselves to the next level in order to find out, is this true? Is this not true? Did he narrate it like this? And subhanAllah,